Alright, what's going on, guys? So Firebase Z is now finally live for everybody to play, and we are going to be discussing a lot of the changes that came with today's patch. There's some pretty major updates on how Zombies is going to play, not just for Firebase Z, but for the game as a whole. So we're going to be covering all of the major updates that are coming out. We are going to be discussing Firebase Z, but we're not going to go too in detail with it. If you guys want a in-depth explanation on how Firebase Z works, I made an ultimate guide to this map. You can go and check it out. But in this video, we're going to focus on more generally all the changes that were made to Zombies. Before we dive too deep today, if you guys end up enjoying any part of this video, then be sure to give it a thumbs up. It takes 2 seconds and it's completely free. Remember to subscribe if you're brand new to the channel, as around 88% of you guys are not currently subbed. We've now began our road to 500,000, and every single new one does help, so I want to welcome you here if you're a first-time viewer. So anyways, with Firebase Z finally being in the game, this is the main piece of content for obviously the community to chew on. This is what we're going to be playing for a little while, but they have made a lot of peripheral changes and even some balancing passes to the game, including a lot of the most popular weapons and even perks. They've even added some new craftable items and rebalanced the way that some of them work. So there's quite a lot of serious changes that have been made to Zombies that I want to make sure you guys are all aware of. Of course, one of the biggest additions to the game was Tombstone recently, and most of us who have been staying up to date with what Treyarch has been doing to the game are going to be fully aware with the changes that have been made to Tombstone and how it's going to function in game. But finally, I got to play with it in Firebase Z, and I got to say that this perk has a dichotomy to it. There is a balance to be struck. I think it is possible Tombstone could get a slight rebalance, but currently as it is right now, if you do go down, you will be in the ghost form to go and revive yourself. But if you die in your ghost form, it is game over, even if you have a self-revive. The idea here is that if you go down, you have the choice to use your self-revive and consume that, or you can use your Husu and potentially risk it, but if you revive yourself, it does not cost you a self-res. So I actually think this is the proper way to balance it, if you ask me. Now, I know a lot of people might disagree with that, but I think this is probably the fairest way to do it. Because the alternative would be if you die and then you go down also in Tombstone, then you have the chance to use a self-revive. There's pretty much no way to die out of your zombie games. There's almost no physical way that you could lose a Zombies match at that point if you're a relatively competent player. So I think this is the best way to balance Tombstone, and I don't know if they're going to change it, but I would say that this is the best way to have it so far. As far as new craftable equipment goes, we now have the Napalm Strike as well as the artillery, and these have also been retroactively added to D-Machine as well. In Firebase Z, they're like a fundamental part of the map. If you guys are familiar with how this works, you pretty much needed to hold it down during assault rounds, so they're pretty useful and they make sense in this map's like actual theme, but they have been retroactively added to all maps. Also, Onslaught is getting some fairly major improvements to its game mode as well, as far as the zombie algorithm spawn mechanics and also additional enemy types from Firebase Z. So I'm going to assume this means not only the Mimic, the Mangler, and potentially even the Hellhounds. Of course, right now, this only applies if you are a PlayStation user, as Onslaught is currently a PS exclusive. However, when the contract exclusivity ends, this will be added to Xbox and also PC. So these changes are probably going to be polished and to make the game better before it gets released on those platforms. Now we arrive at some of the juicy info. A lot of this is going to be like the most practical information and balance changes that are very important in regards to Zombies. First and foremost, they have completely rebalanced the SMGs and ARs. So they have buffed the critical damage and also max ammo stock on every assault rifle and SMG in the entire game. This means you will simply have more ammo to use in these weapon types, as well as deal more headshot damage, and it feels like they're trying to get the balance quite right with the ARs, and especially bring them up to the class of a lot of the attack rifles, because just pretty much on sheer DPS, it almost outshines the entire AR class alone. Now, not only did ARs and SMGs see a buff, but even the Street Sweeper shotgun, which was literally a joke when it released to the game. It was easily the worst shotgun in Zombies, didn't even hold a candle to the Gallo or the Howler, has also been buffed as well. They've increased the base damage and the range on the Street Sweeper. I don't think they changed any of the animations. I don't believe they made the reload quicker. I feel like that would be the best way to balance it, though, is make the damage incredibly high, but still have its very crippling reload speed. So hopefully we get to try the Street Sweeper again and see if it's even remotely effective at all. Now, Treyarch have also changed the way the Cryofreeze ammo mod works, and they have essentially buffed this one and giving it a super short cooldown period. Now, in general, I'm not a huge fan of the Cryofreeze weapon mod on here. I think it like can kind of sometimes get messy and it can cause zombies to block your path. Not my favorite thing to use in the entire world, but it does have its uses, especially when shooting boss enemies that are particularly weak to it. But the thing they're doing is essentially making it almost like Deadwire from Black Ops 3, where it has the shortest cooldown period ever, and it will be refreshing quite a lot. As far as I can tell, none of the other ammo mods saw a buff or a changing at all, except Cryofreeze, and this one hopefully will be a little bit more effective. I'm hoping it doesn't become more annoying in the situations where it presents itself as annoying, but we'll have to wait and see. Also, Treyarch has added a new set of challenges. If you go over to your Zombies tab, there is a Requiem Advancement, and in these is essentially, most of them are collecting intel around the map, and those will give you calling cards and XP as well. So I think that a lot of these you're just going to probably get just through playing the game, but they have also added a new Dark Ops challenge, which at the time of me recording this video, I don't believe has been discovered yet. But since this Dark Ops challenge is specifically for Firebase Z, I'm just going to go ahead and say it that it's probably going to be completing the main Easter egg. And speaking of which, that goes live tomorrow at noon. So Friday, 12 p.m. Eastern is when the Easter egg will be unlocked. The main quest can be hunted for on this map. And then assuming whenever that gets completed and that gets solved, whenever you do that Easter egg, I'm going to assume you will also get the Dark Ops challenge. Also, a bunch of new playlists have been added for zombies. Now, this is essentially the reorganization you can see on screen of what it looks like now. Everything still functions the same, but solo games can now be found at the very bottom of the screen, so you no longer have to click on the map and then scroll over to private match to play solo. Also, Treyarch has addressed an issue with the perk Quick Revive as well. Now, they say they addressed an issue that prevented Quick Revive from reducing the time it takes to regenerate full health. Apparently, some players were not regenerating health like they should, even with Quick Revive active. Now, I can't say I ever noticed this problem. It may have happened to me, but I certainly didn't notice it. But I'm sure a lot of you guys in the comment section will, at least one of you guys have ran into this problem. However, with the release of this new patch, that looks to be all sorted out now, so that's good. Also, interestingly, Treyarch changed the way self-revives work, and it's maybe not the way you were expecting it to, but the self-revive random drops that can come out of zombies will now only spawn one time if you're in solos, meaning they can only drop randomly once. But depending on how many players you have in game, you can get that many total. So if you have 4 players, there's a chance of getting 4 random self-revive drops. Now, this has nothing to do with your ability to craft them. You can craft as many self-revives as you want still, so long as you have the scrap for it. It's not going to affect the way that you make them yourself at all, just I don't think you're going to be able to get them from like spawning them in randomly anymore, whether from enemies or even maybe the purple crystals on D Machina as well. It looks like they also addressed the issue that allowed players to duplicate using the sentry gun support item. So this was a quite busted strategy, let's say, that people were using just to duplicate items from the table. Looks like that's been fixed as well. I never really did this myself, but I know a lot of people were doing it. Also, we now have a huge quality of life change that finally got added to the game. I mentioned this a few months ago, but it was the most annoying thing to be shooting zombies before you ever bought an armor vest, and you would have just these random armor shards drop that you couldn't pick up, and if you're in a solo game, nobody could get it, so they would just sit there. Now, if you don't have armor in zombies, and you happen to get one of these to spawn, it will spawn a different set of an armor vest, just called level 1 armor, and that will actually give you a vest to wear. Again, that's assuming that you currently have no vest. If you do have one, then the armor shards can still spawn, and I believe they are still functioning the exact same way. This is for when you specifically don't have one yet. A couple changes to some of the boss enemies, specifically megatons. They have reduced the megaton melee distance. They reduced the arena spawn rate after round 64, and they've also reduced the overall health of megatons as well. And then finally, there have been an absolute huge number of bug fixes and stability patches and things to make your game crash less. To be honest, I haven't had too many problems with Cold War crashing, although I know some of my viewers have, and it's not nearly as unstable as it could be, but it's just nice to see that a lot of these issues are getting looked at and resolved. Also, for you Prestige Masters, if you go over to your barracks and look in the Prestige icons, there is actually a lot more available. Now, things from older Call of Duty games like World War II, Call of Duty Ghost, Infinite Warfare, Advanced Warfare, there's so many actually fire emblems now that you can wear for your Prestige Master icon that got added in this patch, and I think a lot more are going to be coming with Season 2 as well, I believe. But anyways, guys, that is all of the major changes that came with this most recent patch, obviously, along with Firebase Z. If you haven't gone and checked out the map yet, I do have an ultimate guide if you'd like to give that a look and get a, a nice footing into the map to help you have the most fun on it. The link to that is in the description. If you guys enjoyed the video today, though, make sure to give it a like rating. That would be awesome. Subscribe if you are new to the channel before you go. And I also am going to be streaming the Firebase Easter egg hunt tomorrow over on Twitch as soon as it starts. So make sure to follow over there, and I'll see you guys there for the streams. But anyways, have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you all on the next stream or the next video. Take it easy, guys. I gotta go, and peace out.